And we are live. Kia ora tato. Welcome back to another Q&A here at Digital Boost. I'm Georgia Hatzis. Today I get to host Michelle Sullivan from Web Matters. Michelle is the owner of Web Matters, and we are going to talk today about WordPress. So Michelle has been working with WordPress for about 17 years now, and she's what I would consider an expert at this point on all matters WordPress. So today, you get to ask. You don't get to answer anything. Unless you're a pro, call me and we can do an event. But you get to ask any questions you want of Michelle about WordPress. Michelle's going to talk us through some design, some security stuff, SEO and content, and share her expertise with us. And any questions you have, pop them into that Q&A in the Zoom, or you can, if you're watching live from our Facebook or our LinkedIn or YouTube, just pop me a message in there. I'll keep an eye out for it. But feel free to join this conversation. Michelle, I am so thrilled that we get to do this. I reached out to Michelle last year, and and I feel like, our time is here. We're going to get to talk about WordPress because a lot of people either use WordPress for their website or they're WordPress curious, and they want to know a little bit more about it and why WordPress instead of another website builder, So welcome. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have that question answered by the end of the hour. So
fantastic. Well, take it away.
Lovely. So I should start.
Yes, if you want to start sharing your screen, let's do that.
Okay, if I got the right screen.
No, that's the other screen. Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be there in a second, folks. And we still have people streaming in, so that's good. There we go. That's it.
Good. Okay, so WordPress, it's a big topic and some of the information will be a little bit technical and a wee bit dry. I'll try and make it fun and informative. And so let's take it away. So kia ora, I'm Michelle and I'm a Christchurch. I call myself a web designer and WordPress specialist. Sort of fall between designer and developer. I don't code per se. Most of the web these days is no code. I've got 27 years experience in the industry. I've discovered the internet in my early 20s and it was just like, oh wow, I cannot believe I get to do this for a living. 16 years of experience in WordPress. That came about because I lost a job to someone and I thought, what is this WordPress? This is a blog, and WordPress had added pages. So the person that went with the other person was like, well, it was just such an amazing offer. So I had to find out, and then that started a 16-year journey so far of learning WordPress. And I started my business in 2006, and back then I was building websites in Dreamweaver. So it's evolved a lot over the last since then. Right, so today what we're going to go through is quite a lot about WordPress. I'm breaking it up into 3 sections. So why WordPress matters, why it's still relevant. There's a few sort of negative things mentioned about WordPress from other developers. It's not a real content management system, or, you'd be better off using XYZ. So we'll discuss some of that. The maintenance around WordPress, it needs to be maintained, and either if you're going to do that yourself, learn some key maintenance principles, or get someone like me. There's lots of us out there that do care plans, so you can actually have a professional logging into your website every day and updating everything and checking everything. The SEO and content and usability, those are massive topics, and I'm not a usability expert by any stretch of the imagination, other than the fact that I build websites, a lot. and understand some of the principles around that as well. So that section is going to be about the sort of, content and why content is so important still, even today. Okay,
Michelle,
so
before we move on, just give me
yeah.
1 second. I'm getting a note from one of the attendees that they're having a hard time with your mic pickup.
Yeah.
So is there, I can hear you okay, but
Move it forward, move it
yeah,
forward.
that sounds, keep talking, testing,
Yep,
testing.
yep, testing 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
Is it
Thank
better?
you.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
moved it a little bit
and
forward
thank you for that message, whoever
Yes,
sent
that's
that.
great. We want everyone to hear this.
That's great. Great. Sorry.
Cool.
Mhm.
Right, so why WordPress matters, and it still matters a lot, and you're gonna see why. So the biggest thing about WordPress is it gives you freedom and it gives you choice, lots and lots of choice. And it's sort of, there's some kind of noble principles around WordPress that, information should be allowed to get out there. So, you've got like your citizen journalists and so forth. And it's the great thing is that it's affordable. So it's mostly free. You can soon start adding a lot of paid add-ons. But if you really wanted to, you could probably ring fence your costs and do a lot for free, especially with some of the page builders. Some of them are amazing what they give away for free these days. So then you've got your themes, and that's how the look of your website, how that's controlled. You've got nearly 12,000 choices. It's a mix of free and paid themes. But you could get by with, a free theme perfectly. One of the ones I use is called Astra. That has over 1 million sites using it. It's it's so ubiquitous. So the plugins, 59,000 free plugins. If you can dream up something that you need, there's going to be a plugin for it. Now, this is the statistic that it powers 810 million websites. So I checked these stats the other day, and I believe, if they're correct, there's 2 billion websites on the internet. So that's 42% of all websites. And then when we break it down to content management systems, and when we talk about content management systems, we're talking about like Wix and Squarespace and Shopify. They're all systems that allow you to log in and manage your content. Well, WordPress has a 62.5% market share. And I think the nearest one, I was just going to bring these statistics up. Where are they? So the next nearest is Shopify at 6%. So it dominates. Hosting options. So you can self-host it. You can go, to one of the local web hosting companies and host your website there. If you don't like them, you can just move your site. There's also WordPress.com. That's becoming a lot more developer friendly and a lot more like, with the paid plan at WordPress.com, you can do just about anything as well. And you get the nice sort of safety net of everything being updated as well. So that's an option that I'm finding people are increasingly using, just parking their site at WordPress.com. So the difference between there, with WordPress.org, you've got to install WordPress yourself. With WordPress, it's already installed. The portability, you're not happy with your host, you clone it, it's gone. It's gone from them. You just update your domain name and it's pointing to a new server. So all the data is yours. So it's great for that freedom and choice is one of the the key things around WordPress. So is it right for you and your business? So yes, if the following. Flexibility is important. So with WordPress, you can future-proof your business and your website. So let's say you're thinking, oh, I'll just start out with a blog, and then maybe I want to learn, add a learning management system. Maybe I'll sell digital downloads. You can do anything pretty much. Then the SEO, it's so easy to get a well-optimized search WordPress website. And, that's the search engine optimization. So that's, your title tags and your metadata and having an XML sitemap and all the other good things that, are parcel of SEO. If you want to DIY, there's a plethora of content out there for free, an amazing community, one-click installs. So you go into your hosting account, you find WordPress, you install it, it's there, it's ready. Then you just have to go through and do a few key things, but it's easy. Page edits, the page builders have revolutionized WordPress. There's Elementor and the funny named one called Beaver Builder, which is one I use. I found that about 10 years ago. There's also quite a few new ones that have come out in the last few years. And there's the native Gutenberg, which we call the block editor. So you've got lots of options for, and there's Divi as well. I should mention Divi because that does seem to be quite a popular option. Now, giving it love, I'm going to keep hammering this because it's not set and forget. You can't just install WordPress and then hope that a year later everything's going to be fine. There is sort of a shortcut that you can do, which I'll talk about, but generally you really want to keep on top of your updates and your backups and so forth. So then, it's keeping your costs down. You can use all free plugins and themes if you want to, and then all you're really doing is paying for your domain name and your hosting. So basically, WordPress is right for just about anybody, but if you were like, I want a really low maintenance website that's taken care of by, the platform that you're hosted on, then maybe if you're doing e-commerce, then maybe Shopify is better. If you're just doing a little brochure website, maybe Squarespace or Wix or some of the other builders out there. But if you've got big plans and you want lots of flexibility, WordPress. So what can you make with WordPress? Well, you imagine it and it's out there. If you want to do a little wedding website, you're getting married and you want people to RSVP, you want to you could use a Google form and put that into your website, get all of their food intolerances, just anything. Your digital downloads, you want to sell PDFs, portfolios, forums, e-learning, you want to teach a course, membership sites. I've built quite a lot of school websites in WordPress, and of course I've done a lot of business websites for all sorts of different types of businesses. And of course, the beauty is that it's a pick and mix, really. Like if you remember being a little kid going into the lolly shop and going, I want that, the Duplan, and I want the Jaffas, and that's what WordPress is like. And you've got to kind of tame that down. Like you shouldn't eat a lot of sugar, but you shouldn't also install 100 plugins on your site either. So just remember that. Keep your WordPress site light. Yes, it can do all these things, but just make sure that you're not getting too overboard with, because that can affect your performance. So some challenges. So WordPress has some fairly well-known issues around it that, like anything in life, it just has to be managed. So if it's neglected, you installed WordPress, you built a website or someone built it for you, you don't have a key plan or you're not updating it, it can develop security and functionality issues. Now, if you've got a WooCommerce website, today there's been a note come out that there is a vulnerability in WooCommerce for any versions under 8.6. So things like that happen every week. A plugin's fine, and then what happens is there's bug bounties out there where people are paid to scour all the code, look at the code, test it. Is it, are there any vulnerabilities in that code that can allow people to do, things like take control of your site? And so they're found every week. So you need to keep on top of these security and functionality issues. Sometimes it could just be a plugin conflict, they've updated one plugin and perhaps there's a little bit of, I've had situations like that where I've actually emailed both plugin developers and they've been, hey, fixed, we've sorted it. So that brings back to the community side of things. I've had situations where I've been in Facebook groups and I've mentioned an issue with a GoDaddy plugin, and there was a GoDaddy developer in that group. The team's on it right now. So it's kind of like, you just don't get that in many other sorts of business areas. Now it's big thing when I look at people's websites, as they can come and look at my WordPress website, I generally find an expired premium license. So you've got all your free themes and plugins, and then you've got these add-ons that you can get that are the premium versions. Now that's a risk as well. If you don't keep up with your licenses, then there's no way to update that plugin or theme. And what I see a lot of the time is, a business has gone to a web developer, they've built a site, 2 years down the track, for some reason they're not, using the web developer, or they've moved on somehow, and the licensing's been rescinded. So, just watch that you can get those plugins updated. And I would say go and check what plugins you've got on your site, if you've got a WordPress site right now, and which ones are premium. So poor plugin or theme choices, that's a really sort of, I guess, a bit of a sensitive topic. A lot of us get very into our developer tool stack, that we call it. This is my tech stack and it's better than your tech stack. But there are some plugins or themes that you just know when you log into a person's website, you look at them and go, oh, no, I can't believe, because you know that you're going to have to manage the site with, it's going to be tricky, because there's some plugins that just for some reason fall over, and those of us in the industry can name them. Like spam, that's sent through comment or inquiry forms, and that can be managed through having an anti-spam plugin installed, or using reCAPTCHA. There's other methods as well. There's like Cloudflare offers an option there too. Now
Yeah.
this is
While we're talking about Cloudflare, we have a question here about hacks. Like, what do you recommend? Example, Cloudflare. Would you recommend that?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Get your site behind Cloudflare if you can. Not only does it protect it, the free version, it offers some limited, I'm not a Cloudflare expert, but it does offer some protection. The other thing, the beautiful thing for someone like me, is that almost instant domain name delegation. So if I'm wanting to update someone's domain record, it's really fast, and I can leave notes for other developers. So like what we're doing at the moment, and this is another topic that is a massive topic, but all of the changes with the email verification, with the DKIM and the SPIF records and the DMARC records, you might have had emails from providers saying, unless you go and validate, I can go into Cloudflare and add those records and write a little note saying, SPF record added for Shopify or something like that, which I had to do recently. So it's great. I love it. It's just,
and it's interesting because Carol says here, Cloudflare totally disrupted my site, took it off, and everything worked fine. Carol, I'm guessing WordPress, right? Because that's why I'm assuming that's the site that you have is a WordPress site.
Yeah, I think I know what happened. Yeah, so it would have been, now I can never remember quite, it probably was related to SSL, and it was probably the wrong tick box, the wrong version of SSL. I can never remember if it's strict, but every time I go into put a new site live via Cloudflare, I have to go back and tick that box, because you get, it's a really quick fix. That it might have been something else, but usually a Cloudflare issue is around the SSL. So it's usually a really quick fix. Now, website inquiry fails. Hand up if you found out that your website inquiry form is not delivering to your inbox, because that is so common, and that kind of rolls back into the whole domain validation of your records. Some of it's the way the web form's set up as well. If you are sending from and to the same email address, that'll make your inquiry form very, very spammy. By far, I just recommend using an SMTP server. So there's a company that 9 out of 10 web developers would recommend called Postmark, and it's like $15 US a month. It will send all your notification emails, your inquiry forms. You'll get logs. You'll see when, when people have opened the emails. If you've got a WooCommerce website, I would say go and send all of your notifications through Postmark, and it's all validated. That could be a whole other topic of Postmark. It's just the most amazing system. I've got one e-commerce client, and he said, man, I would pay double for that service. It's just so good. Especially when people say, oh, I didn't get your email. He logs into Postmark, sees the email was opened. He can say, okay, at 2:30 p.m. in Christchurch, that email was open. So he loves it. So that's the key takeaway with inquiry failing. Send it through SMTP, which is basically a proper mail standard. Hacks. No matter how big your site or how insignificant, because it's WordPress, it's out there and it's found, and they'll just hammer it just to see if they can get in there, especially if it's got vulnerable software. And it's nothing personal. It's just the fact that you're WordPress, and it's a big target. It's kind of like the Microsoft situation where it dominates the market, so it's the bigger target. Now it does rely, it's a very rich ecosystem, and there's a massive community, and it's brilliant. Even someone like me sitting in New Zealand can reach out and find a developer in a big company and have a conversation with them. It's just crazy. It blows my mind some days. But there are thousands of people that you have to rely on them to do their job well. There's also lots of peer review though. So if they don't do their job properly, and there's been a couple of instances that recently been quite controversial, they get pulled into line very, very quickly. Now, poor web hosting. If I had a penny for every, oh no, if I had $1, maybe for $10, for every time someone came to me and, our website's not performing very well, we move it to a different web host. Oh, wow, it's so much faster. In fact, I moved somebody last year to a server in Sydney, actually, of all places, and I got an email from the client said, "Is the website now too fast?" Joke, 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 joke. So we sort of live in a bit of blissful ignorance around these web hosting companies. Even I'm not too sure anymore. I've got a few that I recommend, but it's really difficult to keep on top because they keep being bought out by other companies as well, especially US companies. Right, so part 2. Are there any questions relating from the first part? We're all good, so we can keep going. Let's take a deep breath because we've got maintenance and security matters. And this takes up a lot of my day. I build websites, I design websites, but a lot of my time is like, there's a WooCommerce security issue. I need to go and update WooCommerce on all my client sites. So let's get stuck in. Backups. So after this, go and check how many backups you've got of your WordPress website. They will save your bacon so many times. We need 2 methods at least, preferably 3. There's an IT sort of principle of multiple redundancies. So, your primary backup, your secondary, and then, tertiary backup. Do not rely on your web host. I had a situation where a server failed at a hosting company. It just died. They'd outsourced their backups to a secondary company, and they realized they didn't have the actual capacity to restore the websites quick enough. Some of those were, some people were like, I can't have a day offline. I log into my management system, sure, move aside, change the domain name, back online. You need that kind of redundancy, especially if it's a WooCommerce site. You can't afford to have any downtime because your host has had some sort of major situation go down. So you've got your offsite backups, and this is separate from your host. So this is like, it's stored in the cloud somewhere. It's separate from your web host. A backup plugin, you can do it through your dashboard, and there's a few plugins I really like. I particularly like Duplicator Pro. It's never failed on me. Migrate Guru is one that's really popular as well. Backup Service. Now, these are a couple of third-party sites where you can go and do all sorts of cool things. ManageWP.com is very popular in the WordPress web developer industry, so is WP Remote. So with those, you install a plugin on your site, then add the site into that management system, and like ManageWP, it'll do a daily or 6-hourly update of your site. Or you can do, if you want to just stay for free, it'll do a free monthly backup. So if you're not updating your site a lot, maybe a monthly backup, for free, that I wouldn't recommend relying just solely on that. But, if money is an object, then at least go and do something like that. Daily backups, preferably I like to have a daily backup of every site I manage. And with some of my WooCommerce sites, I've got 6-hourly backups. I would say 60 days, you want to give yourself what are called restore points. So that's like, I'm going to restore my site, to that day and that time. This is especially important if the site gets damaged somehow. Perhaps there's been a really nasty hack. And while you want the site cleaned up, any of the malware removed, you might also want to just restore it back as well. Often that's one of the fastest ways to get to recover from a hack. Updates matter. So
I just want to say that these are really great points, because we've talked about security a lot at Digital Boost, and it's nice to see that list of where and how we do say, oh, do backups, find this or find that. So it's nice to have a list of the different options.
great.
So thank you for that.
Excellent.
Yeah. Mm.
So you're probably getting the message loud and clear that out of date WordPress is risky. So we've got the security issue, but we've also got like functionality problems, like, it's not keeping, the plugin isn't keeping pace with the version of WordPress. So if you've got a simple site, and I'll say like, a 6 or 7 page brochure website with maybe an inquiry form, I would say by all means, go and set those plugins and themes and WordPress to auto update. Just make sure you've got those backups in place as well. I mean, it's got some risks, but it's kind of balancing the risk. It's like, do I want to find out a week later that there was a massive security issue with Elementor and my site's now hacked? Or do I want to, see that there was a funny little, maybe, I lost a font or something or a color. So it's kind of balancing that, hack versus maybe a tiny little display issue or something like that. But, if you're not comfortable with doing that, then I would say, make sure that you're going in each day and updating your plugins. And when I work with my clients who are on care plans, every weekday morning, it's the first thing I do. I log in, update all their software. Now, manual updates, if you're running WooCommerce and payment gateways, I would say for anything that's complex, maybe digital downloads, do a manual update, especially on WooCommerce. It's one of the ones that can give us issues. So just probably stay away from, auto updating WooCommerce, not unless you're very brave. So backup before large updates. So if you're going to do like lots of content changes, or you're going to try and change themes, when you're updating WooCommerce, I would do a manual backup before I updated WooCommerce, or I would use a staging site. Now, a staging site, that's a clone of your live site that's password protected, and there's a link so you can push updates between. So you could update your staging site, and if everything's good, then you can push those updates to your live site. Or you can just use it as a test bed and then go and update your live site. But the staging sites, most web hosting companies don't offer them. But if you're with a managed web host, they will offer them. And what you do is you just, what we call spinning up a staging site. And, so it's quite a key principle in WordPress is that we test on staging, or, make sure you've got those backups. So you want to get your notifications, and a plugin like WordFriends will email you, and this goes back to making sure you've got that SMTP set up so that those notifications are coming through, they're not spam. And WordFence will say, hey, that plugin's out of date, you better go and update it, or hey, WooCommerce has got a security vulnerability, you better get that updated ASAP. So get those notifications in place, make sure that they're coming through, or that somebody is getting them, whether it's your web designer. I mean, if they built your website 3 years ago, don't assume that they're getting those notifications. Licensing. So we've touched on this before. Know what licenses your site's using. So to get an update, you need an active license, and that's generally an annual fee. So someone needs to be going in there and renewing those licenses. So let's say you've got an Elementor Pro and it's developed a security issue. You need a license around Elementor Pro to then go and do those security patches. Who's got the license? If it's your web designer or developer, make sure they're renewing the license. If they go out of business and that happens, I've had web designers, they're now starting to retire. So that's a new thing for this industry, is that people retiring out of it. So that's a really key thing, is license. Who's got it? Should you have it? Maybe. It depends on your relationship with your web designer. I've got clients that have been with me like 15 years. And so I look after the licenses, and in some respects I even register their domain, renew their domain names for them. They're kind of, they're very well looked after. So it's up to you, but I would consider it as an option, is that you have those licenses in place. If you've got a care plan with your designer, developer, those licenses are probably being taken care of. But go back, check your agreement. What's the contract? Leaving your web designer, you may lose the license. And this is fair enough, because some of these licenses are really expensive. They might be, and you've got to have a ton of them. So if you're not paying your web developer anymore, like you're not hosting with them, you don't have a care plan, and you go off to somebody else, expect to lose those licenses. It's fair enough as well, because you're not contributing to the cost of those anymore. Hosting matters. Deep breath. So this is controversial as well. I mean, you can go and find the cheapest web hosting possible, but I will guarantee you will have problems with WordPress and the service. It's often really crowded. They're often really slow. So, if you can host really close to your market, especially important for WooCommerce, for e-commerce sites. Now, often people say, oh, you should be on a New Zealand-based server. I've been having a rethink about that. I've found an Australian company, several Australian, one's not Australian, but they've got Australian servers. So often these large companies have a Sydney-based server, and I moved to a client to a Sydney-based server, and he was the one that said, is the website now too fast? So between New Zealand and Australia, I would say that the speed is just, it's, I personally don't notice a difference. But if you have to stay in New Zealand for good reasons, by all means, a lot of people end up, they don't even know they're hosted on basically, Australia or somewhere like that, or America. Now, American companies, just be aware that some of them own New Zealand hosts. Now, support. Now, when things go wrong, it's really important to get good support. And, I deal with people who are like, oh, I just can't deal with that hosting company anymore. I can't get support. It's all outsourced, or they've ring-fenced it so that, you have to jump through so many hoops. So if you want, and I highly recommend it, and I've had clients that I've sent to manage WordPress hosting, they've said, oh, that's just brilliant. So they'll actually do things like, they'll notify you of insecure plugins. Some of them will actually go and update plugins, and some of them will just clean up malware infections automatically. Okay, security matters, staying safe online. So one of the key things here is your SSL certificate. So most hosts will supply this for free, and you don't need to go and pay for, pay for one. Let's Encrypt is everywhere. So generally you can just go and install that. Use strong passwords. So save the password generated by WordPress to a password manager. Don't use, fluffy 123 as a password. It's just inviting people to get into your site. User privileges. So this is all about who needs access to the site and who needs full admin access, and go in and remove anyone that doesn't need it anymore. So that's ex-staff, developers, and ex-SEOs in particular. Two-factor authentication. You can usually do this through a plugin, and it's either it's linked to your phone through an authentication system, or you can use an email system. So a security plugin, use WordPress. It's one of the most popular, and it is free. There's also a premium version. Now, the difference with the premium version is that you get the firewall is updated as soon as there's a new vulnerability out. And you can also block access to your site on a countrywide basis. So if you want to block the login page, say you don't want anyone in Russia or on those IP addresses, you can block anyone from Russia even trying to get into your website. Your PHP version, so this is the programming language that WordPress is run on. So ensure your host runs a secure version of PHP on your web hosting. So some of them do what's called manage PHP, and they'll just update that for you. But others are just like, it's up to you to make sure that, PHP is sort of up to 8 point something, but there's a lot of sites running on 7.4 or 7.3. So one thing is your PHP version can also make your website a lot faster if you're running the latest version. I recently, my own website, I just updated it to 8.3 PHP, and it was just, the speed increase was incredible. Okay, part 3, SEO content and usability matters. So how to improve your free organic rankings. So the big thing here is doing keyword research. So brainstorming your keyword phrases. This can be as simple as, writing it down, checking your competitors. You can do paid research. I personally don't bother with that, but if you're in a really competitive area, you could go and do some paid keyword research. Use an SEO plugin, so there's lots of them. The main thing is you want to edit those title tags and metadata. Check your rankings. You can just do this in Google, or you can use a paid service to do a mass check of your rankings. Keyword URLs. So, add keywords into the page addresses, the URLs of your site, of your pages and your blog posts and so forth. So like if it's, you're a dog groomer in Remuera, your about page might be about, Remuera dog groomer. And having those keywords will really help with your rankings. Now, if you do change your URLs, make sure you do redirects as well. Image alt tags, so write alt tags, which are instructions to the search engines on what an image is about, and this should be really descriptive and added to your images, and that, add your keywords in there as well. Bichon Frise being groomed by Auckland dog groomer. Content, keep adding new content to your website, and so that brings us to the next section of content. So content matters. Now, this is a massive topic. So it establishes credibility, it builds trust, it convinces people to use you, and you convert them. So, and you do this all through your content. So, and your design, of course, is important as well. But your content, if people are super interested in what you are offering, they'll often disregard sort of an average design if the content's great. you've got them. So content is the backbone of SEO. And there was an old saying, content is king, and it still really is. It's just super important. But it's also really hard. Even with AI, it's still hard because you make all this AI stuff and then it sits there and you're like, oh, I have to review that and I have to update it. So one of the easier things to do is just make tweaks. Just go in, have a look at the content. Could I have worded that better? Maybe put, something else in there. So just some incremental improvements are much easier to do. Have a plan, have a content plan. So if something happens in your business, is it blog worthy? Is it an FAQ? Is it a case study? You get some really great results for a client or customer. That's a case study, what was the background? What was the challenge? What was the solution? What did we come up? What were the results? Blogging, it still feels a bit old fashioned, but it's just an amazing way to get people, landing onto your site. Add testimonials. Asking for a testimonial is really hard, but it's really important because often people they're busy and they just don't think. And you actually use ChatGPT to ask, to write one. I did this recently for a client and he ended up getting 10 testimonials. It was brilliant. And then, suddenly his website started getting all this new traction and all these new inquiries. Have a call to action. So ask visitors to do something. So this is like, join my newsletter, complete my inquiry form. So when you're putting content in there, like, what am I wanting to do? What do I want them to do? Keywords. Isn't that old joke of, we're outstanding in our field? Don't be vague. So be specific about what you do, but don't stuff the keywords in there because that's also doesn't read well. There's ChatGPT and also Copilot. I've been using Copilot quite a lot, and I'm finding it really, really, really useful because it cites all the references. I can download it as a Word document, and then basically what I then do is I bring it into Grammarly, and Grammarly will get rid of all the passive voice, and then condense it down a little bit, and then I'll do a final edit as well. So that's my current AI workflow, is basically 2 edits on anything that's generated through AI. Right, so title and meta tags and Google search results. So this is a Google search for Christchurch WordPress designer. The first thing is the title tag. So this is really important. So I've got Christchurch Web Designer and there is a keyword phrase in WordPress. And then the next section is the meta description. So I've got, a modern and professional website design, etc. So that's where you want to sort of focus some of your attention as well. And you'll need an SEO plugin to do that. The people also ask, they're derived from blog posts and FAQs. So if you're lucky enough to get in there, that's they're not always shown, but they're also really useful. So speed matters. So a slow website will cost you money. Now, you'll see this in people maybe giving up. The site gets partially loaded and then they're just like, no, it's too long. So we're aiming for like 3 seconds, which is actually not very long. And you can test that through different methods. So your speed affects your SEO. So that's been a ranking factor for a long time in Google. I think it was 2010 when they started figuring in that as a ranking factor. So, you want to make sure your website's fast. Google page speed, I'll show you a result shortly. You can go to Google and just do a quick test and see what your overall performance is for desktop and also mobile. So some speed tips. Use a fast theme and you can just Google, fastest WordPress themes and there'll be some reviews. Take this with a bit of grain of salt, but often it's the same plugins themes coming up over and over again. Resize your images so they're the right size, not, 2000 pixels wide. compress the images, so you can use either an online service for that to make the JPEG file size even much smaller, or you can use a plugin. Use a caching plugin like WP Rocket is a really popular one, so it just speeds up the serving of the pages. Use fast hosting, it makes a massive difference, and use the most recent version or one of the most recent versions of PHP. Okay, so this is some page speeds results for a website I built last year. So now this is showing a desktop version, and the performance level was a 94 out of 100, and I was pretty pleased with this. It's very difficult to get to 100. I do see people do achieve that because they post about it in the Facebook groups because they're so chuffed. I mean, you might not keep 100 because if you add another plugin or add new content, it can affect it. So there's a lot of technical stuff around this, but generally the thing is to look at is that big number down there, 94. So aim for something in the 90s. So usability matters. So a hard to use website is going to cost you leads. You need to have easy to understand navigation, and if it's a larger site, especially e-commerce, make sure you've got a search box. The number of times, I can't find information on really big, I'm mad about gardening, and I go to these gardening seed people, and you just cannot find what you're looking for. Where's the search box? Mobile friendly, that goes without saying, but just remember that we use our fingers to scroll and to click on elements, so make sure that your elements aren't too, especially menus, that they aren't too close together, because you'll get warnings from Google Search Console about that the mobile element is too close together. And that can often be fixed just by changing the line height of a menu system, so that there's just a bit more room between the menus. Hamburger menus on desktop, that's sort of a design choice. The hamburger menu is up at the right of the screen, but not all users recognize this as a menu. So use it, judiciously, and sort of, be careful about it. Accessibility. This is another massive topic. You've got to use alt tags on images. Check your color contrast. So, white text on yellow is a bit, make sure those fonts are big. I don't want to let you use at least 16 pixels. I'd go up to 17. The older I get, the more I want my fonts big. And use properly formatted headings like H1s and H2s and H3s. So that's, that you can usually do that via a page builder. You set your H1. And that ties into SEO as well, so that the big thing with the accessibility is people that are using screen readers to navigate your website. And it's not so much important, well, it's important here, but over in, say, the States, there's been people sued for a lack of accessibility on websites. And, that, who knows whether that would come here. We're slightly different, but, it is an important thing. Think of people that are trying to navigate the site that have vision issues. So we've got key points about WordPress. So it gives you options. So you can be a kid in the candy store and pull down all the lollies. I want an SEO plugin, and I want caching, and I want this, and I want that, and I want digital downloads, and I want to sell products, and I want an e-learning system. You can do it all. Plugin and theme choices. So, they're not all created equal. A lot of it's about doing your research, trusting your web designer perhaps to guide you on that if you've got a web designer. Check your licensing on the premium themes and plugins, because again, that goes back to security and functionality. If Elementor hasn't been updated in 2 years, and then you go and update WordPress, you're going to have some issues. So just remember that WordPress needs love. It's not set and forget. And just that, love WordPress because it will love you back. Backups. Have multiple backups, an offsite backup that's separate from your web hosting company. So, you're not reliant on contacting, crazy domains or free parking or, all of those places when you're like, something happened to our website, we need it, generally 9 times out of 10, there won't be an issue, but it's that 10th time when they go, oh, the backup failed or something, or we had a fire or a tornado or, an insurrection, it's great. We're living in crazy times. So, back up. Add new content for SEO and conversion rates. Have a content plan. And I know it's hard. Sometimes I get feedback from clients, oh, I must write a case study about that, and then I'm like, 5 more emails come in. So it's just a matter of setting some time aside, maybe a Friday, if Fridays are quiet for you, and say, okay, what's happened in the week? What happened last week? What can we talk about? So, adding new content will help with your conversion rates as well, because especially if you're doing a blog, people go, oh, actually, this person's really engaged. The last blog post was last week, not like 2 years ago. So I've got to say, when I go on and see, I'm considering using someone and they haven't posted for 2 years, I'm like, are they serious about their business? Keep testing and optimize. So test your site for speed using Google Page Speed, and there's like GT metrics and a few other things as well. Usability. Consider, if I'm trying to use a screen reader, can they navigate my website? Check your site on a mobile phone, especially after updates. I've got an acronym, always be checking mobile, because as a older person in my 50s, I came to the web before mobile, and sometimes I'm all about the desktop and I'm like, I've got to check the mobile. And it's, even just the smallest update sometimes can affect your mobile, something's just moved, it's not centered and it should be. And especially, if you're doing e-commerce, a lot of people are buying online with their mobile phones. You make sure that WooCommerce website is beautifully optimized for mobile. And then just keep tweaking and keep adjusting. And it's like, just keep thinking, how can I love WordPress today? Okay, right. So questions and contacts. So
Hi, Michelle. Yeah. So probably no one noticed except you, Michelle, but
I
my
did.
internet completely went out, which is the first time for me up here in rural Matacana. So for about, I don't know, maybe I missed 20 minutes of the event.
Yes,
My
yes.
apologies. Any questions that had come through during that time have disappeared. So if I know Ravi had a question about SEO, and I don't know if that question was answered for you, Ravi, let me know. But we do have a question here from Carol. It says, hi, any options to advertise WordPress site?
For like Google AdWords or Google, how can you explain a little bit further about what sort of advertising you're looking to do?
Yeah, we'll wait for Carol to answer that. And then Joanne says, usability and call to action. What is your opinion of having pop-ups to get visitors to subscribe?
They annoy me. I mean, I do it for clients because they want it, but I do find often it's a personal thing, but usability experts, the people that are really drilled down into, they would almost have a plain text website with nothing that's popping up, or they are very, very strict. And I suspect a usability expert would say it will kill your it will damage your bounce rate. So your bounce rate will probably go up. I know sometimes I go multiple times to a website and the pop-up keeps coming up. So if you are going to do it, think about your users and say, well, if they've seen the pop-up once this week, don't show it to them again. So if you're going to do it in a kind way. Don't force people to keep seeing that pop-up.
Great, thank you. And then back to Carol's question, which was any options to advertise WordPress site? And she said yes to Google Ads or via WordPress Direct. Are there hidden hooks? I see most advertising has a fee.
Right. So, yes, advertising on Google will cost you. I'm not an expert in that area, so I would consult someone that does Google advertising. Same for Facebook. I blew through a Google advertising budget very quickly and decided a long time ago that there was enough for me to know about WordPress. So I would say go and get expert advice on if you attempt to do any Google advertising. I've got a client who manages all his own Google advertising, and he is a legend in it. He's taught me stuff. He knows all the tricks. But that's his brain. Whereas my brain's more of a creative sort of technical brain. I don't like the Google advertising. I looked at it and thought, no, well, yeah. So I would say go and get some really good advice, especially for Facebook as well. Facebook advertising, I tried doing some of that, and I realized pretty quickly the next time that I try and do that, I will outsource that. So sometimes you've got to stick to your knitting and say I'm WordPress. And a little bit of Shopify and Squarespace as well. But generally, I'll keep away from that stuff. So go and get expert advice.
Great. So, and on top of that, is there, Carol's wondering, is there a community to help e-commerce WordPress sites that you know of that is possible to connect with? Do you know of any Facebook communities or LinkedIn or?
Well, it depends. There's a WooCommerce group, but that's for support on WooCommerce. That's on Facebook, and you'll see a lot of technical things. If you're sort of looking for a community where you can promote yourself, you have to be careful around that. A lot of groups won't allow you to do that. Because it just ends up spamming the group. But then there's groups where and I see this a lot in female entrepreneur groups where they might have one day where it says, hey, it's Friday, give us a plug for your business. I saw one just do that the other day. So, just be kind of careful about it. If the Facebook group exists for that sole purpose, then go for it. But if it's like, a support group where, for female entrepreneurs or for, I don't know, there's so many Facebook groups out there, but yeah, also you don't want to get banned from a group that you find useful. Like there's a group I'm in with 10,000 web developers, and I will toe the line because I don't want to lose access to those experts. So I don't promote myself. You're not allowed to promote yourself in that group. So
Yeah.
you can be helpful and people go, oh, she seems helpful. But yeah, you're gonna, hey guys, I've got this amazing new ebook that I want to sell for you. Then you get chucked out of the group really quick.
Yeah, it says Carol's saying most sites for community is in North America. I'm wondering if there's anything specifically here in Aotearoa.
Not that I know of. If
Yeah.
you're going into Facebook, I don't know what your situation is, but if you're finding some support online and you want to promote to those people as well, yeah, there's very little that you can get away with these days.
Yeah,
If
and I'm wondering, Carol, if you just check in with our support at digitalboost.co.nz, they might have somewhere they can send you as well. Check that out. We do still have I see we're at time, but we do have a few questions and I'd really like to answer them. If you can hang out a little bit
yeah,
longer,
yeah, yeah,
Michelle, yeah.
yeah,
All right,
far
so
ahead.
back to the pop-ups question. Joanna's
Mhm.
saying, I agree, pop-ups are annoying. Do you have a better suggestion to get people to subscribe? Should it be on the homepage rather than the contact page?
Yeah, I would put it on the contact page. I mean the homepage. I don't know if I might be breaking rules that I'm not aware of, but I like it I like it on the homepage or in the footer. You could put it in the footer so that it goes on every page. But if people are interested and engaged, they'll do it. the pop-ups could be useful for things like, there's a limited sale on now or something like that. But I personally find pop-ups for like email newsletters kind of annoying as well. But yeah, I mean, that's often because I'm trying to do things really quickly and it's like, oh, just get out of my way. I need the information. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. Thank you. Amy had said, I'm not sure if my question came through, so thank you for asking it again, Amy. Hi, great info so far. What SEO plugin would you recommend?
Ah, wow. There are so many. I've kind of stuck with the ones I know. But you ask 10 web developers and get 10 different replies to this. So I personally like Yoast SEO, just because I've always used it. I've used all-in-one SEO as well. I quite like that as well. This one I've used a little bit off and on called SEO Framework, because it kind of self SEOs to a certain extent. It will create nice title tags and metadata, and if you're blogging a lot, I quite like that one. But generally you can't go wrong with Yoast. I mean, there's some other newer ones that, and this comes down to plugin. I tried out a plugin a few years ago, and um, I lost my rankings. It took me a week to notice. I have never used that plugin again. They went to the naughty bin, and but other people love it and they think it's the best thing since sliced bread. So it's often a very I would go and check your reviews on the WordPress.org. So when you go, the WordPress extensions area, you can go in and download those plugins. They've all got reviews, and just go and check. Are you seeing a few threes, a few twos? Sometimes that's disgruntled people, but if you're seeing a trend, I put this plugin on my site and my rankings tanked. Yeah, it's like, and generally you can sort of move a lot of those plugins. SEO plugins will recognize the remnants of another plugin, so they'll pull the content in, the metadata and title tags. So you can try a few, but you know, um, it's kind of like, the whole thing, no one got fired for recommending IBM back in the day, and you're probably not going to get fired for using Yoast either. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and so Amy's saying, I have Yoast installed, but haven't used much. Would you recommend the pro version?
I've never used it. I've
Hmm,
always, I'm a bit cheap with SEO, I guess. My clients don't need it either. Often we can get great organic results just through really good content.
great. And then staying on this SEO question, Amy, love your honesty. Thank you so much. Thanks, Amy. Sonia is asking, if you choose a second SEO plugin, should you delete the original or keep both?
Right. So you don't want to have multiple plugins, like they'll conflict with each other. I think as a rank math, it's got a message or something about a conflict with other plugins. I saw that the other day. So no, you want one plugin, and also if you don't use the plugin, give it some time, and if after a couple of weeks, no, I'm not using that plugin anymore, take it off your site, because it's another potential security risk. It's sort of like another access point that could, make your site less secure. And if you don't need it, just get rid of it. The same with old themes. Delete your old themes that you're not using, like all your default WordPress themes going back to 2012 and 2014. You don't need those themes. So get those out too.
Great. And then how do you find out which plugins conflict with each other and how many plugins are too many? I think that's a big question.
Well, let's just say that in my web developer group, sometimes we get screenshots of sites with 100 plugins and we all go, oh. So I would keep it, if you can, I'd keep it under 20, 20 or 30. If you could keep it, like sometimes I log into people's websites that want training and they've only got 10. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. How did they do that? I can, you can become a bit of a plugin junkie, and I'm a victim of that, the shiny syndrome. And it's like, ooh, that's a CRM system that I can link into my form, and and then 6 months go by and you've actually not set up the CRM system plugin, and you're like, oh, it's still there. So it's just a matter of going back and going, okay, well, clearly I'm not ever going to set up my CRM system as a WordPress plugin. I should take it off. So it's just good, sort of think of it as sort of like I don't know whether you call it hygiene or whatever, like, cleaning up after yourself, I guess, with your WordPress installs and stuff.
Oh, that's great. And then one last question here from Carol with the C, another Carol. Hi. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for a great presentation. What's your opinion of schema markup? Everyone seems to recommend this, but I've had very mixed results with it. For example, when I use article for my blog posts, I'm often shocked at what gets shown in the excerpt on Google search results. It seems to randomly pick phrases from my content and string them together.
Right. So I'm not I don't have a huge understanding around schema. Like, I understand that it's useful for FAQs. Like, you can get plugins that do FAQ schemas so that you can kind of get into that search result where, where you're seeing the FAQs in Google search. That sounds odd that it's just creating its own metadata. So if you've got an SEO plugin, perhaps go back and look at the title tag and metadata for your blog posts as well, and just make sure they're getting customized. But I'd have to know what plugin it was and have some research on it. But yeah, generally it shouldn't. That doesn't sound quite right, that it's doing some strange things like that. And as for plugin conflicts, often you don't find out until there's the conflict. And it can be incredibly frustrating. You're like, why isn't this working? Like, why isn't the form submitting? Why is this or why is that? So what we do is, you take your website into maintenance mode, you deactivate every plugin, then you slowly reactivate each one and you test. And it's a laborious, frustrating process, but it's often the only way to actually find what plugin is the one that's, causing an issue. And then put in a support request to you. If it's a premium plugin, put in a support request and give them the site health information they'll want that. And that's, I haven't mentioned that because that's a huge topic, but that's available on any WordPress site. You can go and look at your site health and see, what version of PHP you're on, what version, all the plugins, how much memory has your hosting provider, given your site, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's quite a job. That's why people like me are still employed to is it Elementor? Is it WooCommerce? Is it Yoast? Is it, so you go through and deactivating each one. Finally, you're like, found it. And then the issue, of course, is, well, what do we do now? Other than asking for someone to say you think you've found a bug in their plugin. There's not really much you can do other than go and replace it. Yeah.
And I'm gonna, and this is gonna be the last. I know I said the last one was the last question, but this
That's
will
all
be the
right.
last question. Just to honor everyone's time for today, would you suggest .org or .com to start a product blog, advertising on behalf of someone else's product?
.com, definitely.
Okay.
If you want an international reach, yeah, .com. .org is reserved for organizations. So I would expect to see a .org for, like, World Health Organization, or, so those .com domain names, they're, that's, you're doing business. So go .com, definitely. And then if you're doing business in New Zealand, go and get the .co.nz to be safe as well, or the .nz. Yeah, or you can end up buying like 30 versions of it. Don't, because yeah, it's expensive. I think
Yeah,
your
exactly.
domain name bill gets
Mm.
huge.
Yeah.
Just out of fear. I mean, there is a lot of fear around someone grabbing, your website and putting it on another domain, and then this just it's not just the fact that it's WordPress, it's just the fact that it's a website. And I didn't really work with them very much. I helped them set up initially sort of a medical business working in the medical space, and they found that, you know, their entire website had been cloned. But they found some methods which I'm not familiar with to unclone it. They didn't say too much, but they found someone who was recommended that it could do a little bit of ethical hacking, shall we say. So yeah, so
Oh, well, Michelle, thank you so much. And
it's all right.
before
It's been
I
a
have
pleasure.
another, internet
Yeah,
snafu and I
I saw
disappear
you
again.
gone. I'm like, oh, I'm all alone.
Never happened before. Thank you, Michelle. That
It's
was
all
very
right.
informative. The last question on .org or .com. Did Maurice not mean WordPress.org or WordPress.com?
Oh, right.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Right. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's really up to you. I think back in the day, we probably would have said, oh, go.org because, you've got more freedom and stuff. But to be honest, I've logged into some WordPress.com sites recently and I can hardly tell the difference. So I was like, is this WordPress.com? Yes, it is. So, if you've got a page, and of course, if you're paying for it, then you get that support as well. So you get a happiness engineer, and there's 8 of them in Christchurch, would you believe it? So you might even get to talk to one of the local happiness engineers. Um,
Fantastic. And Sonia's saying this has been awesome, all caps. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you both.
Great.
Michelle, if people want to get in touch with you or they
Yeah,
have any more questions, I see
yeah.
that we've got this up on the screen, but tell us how we can reach out to you.
Right. So you can just go to my website and send an inquiry. There's another workshop. There's a workshop coming up that I'm going to extend on things. And you can book a 30-minute consultation for free from my Calendly link, and that's on my website as well. Yeah, so just reach out and, I'm happy to answer any emails as well. WordPress is a massive topic, nearly 60,000 plugins. So sometimes I'll have to Google stuff.
Yeah. And
But,
as Michelle said, she's going to be doing a workshop with us. It's the 18th of April. Put that in your calendars. If you cannot attend live, that's fine. You can get the recording as long as you RSVP on the Digital Boost website. So make sure to do that for the 18th of April, and we can dive deeper into Michelle's knowledge and we'll really, really, piece apart
brain.
WordPress. And yeah, it'll be really good. This was fantastic. And
Great.
thank you, Michelle, for your
I hope
time,
you
your
got a lot out of
expertise.
it, and go and check your plugins and go and back up your site.
Absolutely. And did we get to talk about the free consult? I just want to make sure that everyone knows what they
Yeah,
reach out
yeah,
to you.
yeah. So it's
Yeah,
30 minutes, and I had someone the other day say in 30 minutes you covered stuff that was just we just couldn't get out of a developer. So
great.
I am very candid. So WordPress is a beautiful ecosystem, but it's got some challenges. It needs to be cared for. It's like, think of it like a pet that needs, I don't know if that was a good analogy, but anyway.
Well, I think we get the point.
Yeah,
Oh,
or maybe a plant. You need to water
yeah.
your plants, and
And keep an eye on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
keep an eye on it.
Oh, well,
Anyway,
fantastic. Thank you everyone for
awesome,
coming. And we will see you again soon. I'll see you on Thursday
lovely,
for our SEO workshop with Jasper Hallamore. And Michelle, I'll see you on the 18th of April.
great, excellent. Thank you, everyone.
See
Have a
you.
great day.
Bye.